And hold on 1 second. All right. So, hi. Sorry about that. I am Dr. Kathy. In case you have not met me, I have done some videos where I talk about different things regarding intimacy and sexual issues. And I wanted to come on Halloween and say Happy Halloween. Happy Halloween from Dr. Kathy. I really love Halloween. Halloween is a special time of the year where you can dress up and role play for those hint that know what I mean. And I know you all know what I mean because it's something that you really need to practice and get into if you are really involved in a relationship where you need to get some variety, right? So sometimes you got to get some variety going because you get a little bit, bored. The same old gets a little bit old, and you want to sometimes bring things in and you have to communicate. Last time I spoke to you guys, back, I think it was February, I talked about sexual self-disclosure. I am, again, a huge fan of being able to tell and talk to your partner about what you prefer in the bedroom for intimacy. I'm going to try and use the word intimacy because I know sometimes the algorithms don't like that sexual connotation. So I'm going to use it whenever I can so you know what I mean. I mean sexual intimacy because there are different types of intimacy, but the main one I'm talking about is sexual intimacy. And I want you to be able to communicate to your partner and tell your partner exactly what you want in the bedroom. Okay. Now, I'm not saying ram it down their neck. I'm not saying beat him up the head. I'm saying gently in a feminine way, please go ahead, discuss with your partner. It doesn't have to be in the bedroom, it can be at dinner, it can be when you're going out somewhere, but you have to remember to be very polite and considerate because you can't express yourself aggressively. Okay, so we have to remember that these people that we talk to, right, our partners are human beings. And we want to be able to tell them how we feel despite what they're doing or not doing in the bedroom. All right, it can be frustrating, but you have to also know what you want to tell your partner what you want. Okay, so go back to my other video clips. I did talk about sexual disclosure. Right now, we're going to talk about some questionnaires that I had from last time, and I never got to talk about it because some things happened in my life. I will tell you guys eventually what happened in my life. It was just a roller coaster ride, and I'm back now. Hopefully everything is more stable now, and I can continue talking to you about what I love to talk about best, which is sexual issues, right? So we're on class 31, sexual class 31. Let's go see my other 31s that I talked about, and let's talk about some questionnaires because I love questionnaires. You all know I love questionnaires. Okay. So one of my questionnaires is coming from psychological scales. Okay. Now, yes, you can see I have a smart board. Ooh, I love the smart board. Isn't it cool? So I am going to take us to one of the sites that I love to go to. This is called Psychological Scales, okay? And it is a sexual self-disclosure scale that we're going to talk about, okay? I'm not going to go into too much detail. I'm not going to ram it, again, down your throat, but you're going to see that we're going to talk about, again, these guys are great. Visit their website. They have all types of scales, okay, on all sorts of different topics. So this one is by Joseph Catania, University of California, San Francisco. And if you want to read all this, you can. I just want to go in straight to the questions and explain to you that when you are discussing with your partner, you have to first of all know, do you know how to discuss with your partner, right? You have to be able to discuss with your partner because you cannot communicate your opinion without being able to discuss. So this scale is going to really find out, can you discuss? Can you disclose? Can you communicate with your partner? Again, sexual self-disclosure scale from psychological scales, and the instruction is extremely easy, number 1 for your questionnaire, or extremely difficult, number 6. So that range of questions, they want you to find out where you fall. Number 1, if you were asked to complete an anonymous questionnaire containing personal questions on sexuality, the answers to which, I think it's my electronic pen that's doing that. The answers to which you have been told would never be publicly associated with you personally. How easy or difficult would this be in the following situation? I don't know. Can you see that? I don't know whether this is something I need to, let's see. I can make it a little bit bigger. There we go. That might be a little bit too big, just a little bit bigger. All right, so the answers to which you had been told would never be associated publicly with you, right? How easy or difficult would this be in the following situation? Number 1, in the privacy of your own home with no one else present, or during a large 25 or more people group meetings where most others are also filling out the questionnaire. So the number 1 question wants to know if you were going to be doing a questionnaire about, different sexuality issues, personal sexuality questions, the answer to which no one's going to know about, how easy or how difficult, remember 1 to 6, how difficult would it be in the privacy of your own home with no one else present? So we want you to go from 1 to 6. How difficult would it be? Should be pretty easy, right? In your own home with no one else present. Number 2, in front of 25 or more people, group meeting where most others are filling out the questionnaire. So if someone else is filling out the questionnaire, how difficult or how easy would it be? Again, my focus is to really get you to understand there are things that we don't even think about. These questionnaires enable us to actually think about things that we would never have realized are important in our relationships. So would you be able to do it in the privacy of your home? I think most of us can, but the question now is in a large group of people. And it does sort of indicate how easy you do communicate with your partner. It is relevant in that way, okay? Number 2, if you were asked, let me see if this is going to be less of an issue. Yeah. If you were asked personal sexual questions in a private face-to-face situation, for instance, only you and an interviewer, the answers to which you had been told would never be revealed, how much difficulty or ease would you have in doing this in the following situation, right? With a young 20 to 30-year-old female interviewer. Sexual questions with a young 20 to 30-year-old female interviewer. With a young 20 to 30-year-old male interviewer. With an older 50 and older female interviewer. With an older 50 and older male interviewer. With a young 25 to 35 female medical doctor. With a young 25 to 35 male medical doctor, with an older 50 and plus male medical doctor. How much more comfortable would you be? Scale it from 1, very easy, 6, very difficult, okay? Again, you're trying to figure out who you are, trying to know exactly what sort of person you are and whether you can communicate with people in general, okay? How difficult or easy would it be for you to discuss a personal sexual problem or difficulty in the following situation? Assume you are in private circumstances with a close friend, with a close female friend, with a close male friend, with a spouse or sexual partner, with a personal physician, with a specialist in sexual problems. Again, I think they're trying to figure out, is it easier when you speak with a medical person, or is it more difficult when you speak with a medical person? Is it easier when you speak with a friend, or is it more difficult when you speak with a friend? Okay. How easy or difficult would it be for you to openly discuss your sex life and history in a group of 3 to 5 people? So 3 to 5 people, you're going to talk about your sex life, things going on in your sexual relationships. With both a male and female mixed company that you've only known briefly, all members of your own sex that you have known only briefly. How comfortable, how uncomfortable? Range it from 1, very easy, to number 6, very difficult. Number 5, how easy or difficult would it be for you to discuss a personal sexual problem or difficulty with your parents Or if your parents are deceased, how easy or difficult would it have been to discuss such with them? So answer for both parents separately below. With your mother, with your father. How difficult, how easy would it be to talk about sexual issues with your parents, mother or father? All right. Now, this is a short form sexual disclosure questionnaire. We're going to go through it really quick. Do you think that talking about sex in an AIDS survey is very easy, kind of hard, very hard? Decline to answer, you don't know. So, do you think talking about sex in an AIDS survey is easy? How easy or hard would it be to fill out an anonymous questionnaire that asks questions about your sexual behaviors in the privacy of your own home with no one else present? Would it be, and then you can fill it out. Okay, so these are just a brief, easier way of doing what we just did in another format. Okay, so we're going to skip over to that and we're going to go to another form questionnaire that I have that's a little bit more detailed. And I think you will like this one. Let's see. Let's see. Let's see if I have it here. History. All right, there we go. All right, this one is by Riley Richards. He actually is a doctor of philosophy, and he really has a great questionnaire. I'm going to go to, I think I'm going to go to 131. Let's see. 131. Can I go there? There we go. So this is the questionnaire that he has in his paper. If you want it, please just go ahead and take the website down. Richard, let's see. I have him here. Riley Richards, to disclose or not disclose the proposition and test of the sexual self-disclosure decision model. So he had a big paper on it, and the questionnaire is an Appendix B, which we're going to go through. Okay, again, it's to assess, it's to find out how comfortable are you with questions about sex, discussing it with your partner. I hope you can see this. Let's see, there we go. So, are you currently involved in a sexual relationship? Sexual relationships are considered to be one if you are engaging in oral, vaginal, or anal sex with another person. Okay, yes or no? Do you expect to have future sexual interactions with this person? Yes or no? So you really want to know, right? Then you're going to use another, again, range of questions from 1, not at all true, to 7, extremely true. Okay, and you're going to sort of figure out the answer to these questions. And I'm going to skip really quickly through them because there are quite a few, not too many, but enough for you, again, for you to understand how your assessment of your own ability to be able to disclose, your information to your partner. How comfortable do you feel? How knowledgeable are you? How considerate are you? How kind are you? So you're going to want to sort of like understand, where do I fall before you step into it? Because you can be a little bit aggressive, and we don't want to be aggressive. All right, so this one, it says, I'm going to remind you, not at all true, 1, 2, extremely true, 7. All right, if other people don't seem to accept me, I don't let it bother me. Is that true or not at all true? So not at all true, number 1, to extremely true, that range, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So not at all true, moderately true, extremely true. So you can just get an idea from that. If other people don't seem to accept me, I don't let it bother me. Does it bother you? Extremely true or not at all true? Okay. I try hard not to do things that will make other people avoid or reject me. Okay, so these are general questions that are trying to figure out what sort of person you are. How do you generally communicate, right? I seldom worry about whether other people care about me. I need to feel that there are people I can turn to in times of need. I want other people to accept me. I do not like being alone. That's very important. A lot of people do not like being alone. Is that not at all true or extremely true? Being apart from my friends for long periods of time does not bother me. I have a strong need to belong. Again, not at all true, extremely true. It bothers me a great deal when I'm not included in other people's plans. Is that true or not at all true? My feelings are easily hurt when I feel that others do not accept me. Very important. Do you feel extremely true, that that's extremely true or not true at all? All right. Then rejection sensitivity questionnaire. How concerned or anxious would you be about how the other person would respond? So here they want to know very unconcerned, again, that range 1 to 7, or very unlikely concerned from 1 to 7. Okay. All right. So very unconcerned from 1 to 7 and very unlikely from 1 to 7. So very unlikely to very likely to very unconcerned to very concerned. These are going to be the next questions. Okay. So how concerned or anxious would you be about the other person and how the other person would respond? And how do you think the other person would be likely to respond? And then you want to sort of like figure out, guess how the other person would respond. Very unlikely or likely or will do it or not do it. So that depends on the question. Okay. All right. So, how concerned or anxious would you be over whether or not your parents would want to help you? And I would expect that they would want to help, right? So that's the answer, the question. You would expect that they want to help, but likely or unlikely. And then how concerned or anxious? And they're going to say very concerned or very not, or not very concerned. So very concerned, not very concerned. So you want to know, are you anxious when your parents would help you or not? Or would you expect them to help you? Again, these are trying to figure out whether you even know or anticipate or can read somebody else or understand someone else's perception of whatever you're going to ask or whatever you're going to do. For in this case, the questions about sexual preferences and knowing whether that person's going to be open or not. You want to sort of like, understand what you're dealing with. That's what they're trying to say here. Can you see what the person is about or how the person's going to respond? Okay. You approach a close friend to talk about, you approach a close friend to talk after doing or saying something that seriously upset him, her, them. How concerned or anxious would you be over whether or not your friend would want to talk to you? How concerned would you be? I would expect that they would want to talk with me to try to work things out. Okay. So again, these are things that you want to know. Do you really think that's going to happen or not? Okay. So there are a lot of questions here that are relevant in terms of trying to figure out again who you are and how you interact with people, right? This one says, you ask a friend to do you a big favor. How concerned or anxious would you be over whether or not your friend would do this favor? How concerned are you? Very concerned? Not very concerned. I would expect that they would willingly do this favor for me. Likely or unlikely to do it. What do you think? Okay, so can you gauge it? Can you guess? You ask your partner if they really love you. Yes. How concerned or anxious would that be? Would you be over whether or not your partner would say yes? Now, most of us are going to say, woohoo, very important, right? I would expect that he or she would answer yes sincerely. I think that would be the case with our partners, right? With most of our partners, yes. All right. Now, this section is approaching your goals. Each of these items below describes a potential goal for you, your sexual partner, and your relationship. Please indicate the extent to which each potential goal is important to you. Not at all important, number 1, 2, 3, moderately important, 4, 5, extremely importantly, 6, 7. So not important to very important. Pursuing your sexual desires. How important is that for you? Feeling good about yourself. How important is that for you? Feeling closer to your partner. How important is that for you? Pleasing your partner sexually. Now that should be very important, right? You've got to go out of your way and please your partner so that they can please you too, right? Please you back. Your partner feeling good about themselves. How important is that to you? Your partner feeling closer to you. How important is that to you? Promoting and or enhancing physical intimacy in your relationship. Promoting and or enhancing mutual respect in your relationship. Promoting and or enhancing emotional connection in your relationship. Emotional connection, that's big. I love connection, right? You've got to be able to have that connection where you are able to feel and almost know instinctively your partner, right? So you eventually get there with the relationship as it, goes on. We pray and hope, right? Avoidance goals. All right. So avoidance, we're talking to people that really try to avoid committing, right? So let's figure it out. Each of these items are describing potential goals. Please indicate which one is important, not at all important, extremely important. Avoid reducing the amount of sexual pleasure you currently experience. Is that important or not at all important? So avoidance goals, right? It might be important for some people to do that. Avoid reducing the amount of sexual pleasure you currently experience. So you want to actually avoid that, right? Avoid reducing the amount of sexual pleasure of your current experience. So you want to have less unhappy experiences. And so you're supposed to not avoid it, you're supposed to discuss it. So the question now is, how important is it? Because some people have avoidance issues. So you're trying to not avoid it. And some people think it's very important to avoid, and some people think it's not important at all to avoid. But I think it's important to definitely improve the amount of sexual pleasure, and you don't want to avoid reducing the sexual pleasure, okay? Prevent feeling embarrassed or hurt by a partner. How important is that? Pretty important. Avoid feeling less emotions towards your partner. Very important to avoid that situation where you're avoiding less emotions, right? To you want to have more emotions with your partner. So you should be avoiding feeling less emotions, right? You want to be able to have more. And so it should be extremely important to avoid feeling less emotions toward your partner. Prevent your partner from losing sexual interest in you. Is that important or not important? Should be very important. Prevent your partner from becoming upset with you. That should be some importance there. Okay. Again, the range is from 1, 2, 3 to 7. Prevent your partner from getting angry with you. Do you go out of your way to try and get your partner not to be angry with you? Now that can be an issue. That is not good. That's something that you should be comfortable with your partner in terms of, being able to have an open discussion. But if you're avoiding these things, these are issues that you need to be aware of. Avoid sexual disagreements and or conflicts with your partner. Do you avoid them or do you not avoid them? Prevent you and your partner from criticizing each other. Do you avoid criticizing each other or do you criticize each other? Prevent anything bad happening to your relationship. Okay? Not at all important, extremely important. To prevent anything bad happening to your relationship, it can't be too overly important to do that. It's just too much if you do that, okay? Because that's a little bit of negative thinking. Prevent rejection and select not at all important. So you want to avoid rejection and you select not at all important. No, you cannot avoid rejection, right? So we have to sometimes be moderate with some stuff like that. Okay. All right. I think this is the last section. Strongly agree. Number 1, to strongly disagree. Sexual self-disclosure efficacy. All right. So I am confident in finding the right words to share my sexual preferences with my partner. All right. 1 to 7. How confident are you? Strongly agree or confident? Strongly disagree or confident? I don't know how to begin explaining my sexual preferences to my partner. Do you strongly agree with that? Then you know where you fall. I don't know. I know how to start telling my partner about my sexual preferences. That's what we want. I am not confident in approaching my partner to reveal my sexual preferences. You have to know. I know what I would say to my partner to achieve my sexual preferences. I know what I would say. Do you know what you would say? I know to pick strongly disagree to prevent rejection. That's not good. I can't think of any way to communicate my sexual preferences to my partner. That's not good. So, do you agree with that or do you strongly disagree? All right. So in this one, how do you expect you will feel as a result of disclosing your sexual preferences to your partner? Inadequate? Adequate. A failure? Successful. Again, that range. Bad? Good. Confident? Ashamed. normal, abnormal, weak, strong, worthless, valuable. What is the range from 1 to 7? How do you expect your partner will feel as a result of hearing your sexual preferences? Embarrassed, 1, to composed, 7. That's what we want, composed, right? Vulnerable, one end, to secure, the other end. Failure, successful. Guilty, guiltless. Incompetent, competent. Adequate, inadequate. Worthless, valuable. Again, on that scale, where would he fall or she fall? Outcome assessment. What relation outcomes do you expect as a result of revealing your sexual preference to your partner? Cause you to argue, cause you to harmonize. Again, from one end to the other. Where do you think you would fall? Reveal core differences between us, reveal core similarities between us. Reveal differences in our personal value, reveal similarities in our personal value. Bringing up past issues, as one. Fix past issues. So you're going to go past issues. You're not going to bring up issues. You're already past that. You fixed the past issues. Okay. Increase the amount of sex we have. Decrease the amount of sex we have. So you want to know whether that's part of this other part of the question, whether the increase of the amount of sex would be a difficult issue or decrease the amount of sex would be a difficult issue to have that discussion, right? All right. And the last part, I believe this is the last part, is we want to know from extremely likely to extremely unlikely the kinds of touching that sexually arouse you. Do you know what is extremely likely and extremely unlikely? My private sexual fantasies, extremely likely to extremely unlikely. That is whether you can communicate this to your partner, right? The sexual preferences, your fantasies, touching you, the sensations, my juicy sexual thoughts. Can you talk about that with your partner? Extremely likely to extremely unlikely. The types of sexual foreplay that feel arousing to me, the sexual episodes that I daydream about, the things I enjoy about sex. These are things you want to know whether you can have that discussion with him. And again, these are topics that you want to know that you can bring up with your partner. Then we have kinds of touching, private fantasies, preferences. Again, this is the same thing, but they want to know whether you can disclose the topic, fully disclose it, or not fully disclose it. Have you done that? Have you done this already? That's the question here. And then the last question here is, how old are you? And are you male, female, Caucasian? And they wanted to have some, I guess, demographics on you, but that is, I believe, where we end our questionnaire. And I know it was a lot, but I think some of those questions are for you to analyze and know whether you actually have an idea of what's involved in discussing with your partner about your sexual preferences. Now, some people will say, oh, Dr. Kathy, I don't think we need to discuss our sexual preferences. And some people will say, he should know or she should know what my sexual preferences are by nonverbal communication. I've heard that before. People have asked me that before. And I do not agree. I think it is important to have a conversation. Yes, with time, you can nonverbal it, right? But initially, I think one needs to sort of bring it up. And I don't know why it's such a problem bringing it up for some people, because they just think that it's taboo. And I'm so frustrated because I know that there are topics that you just cannot avoid, and sweeping it under the carpet, avoiding it is just not something that is healthy for the relationship in the long run for you or your partner, because you really want to be able to be free and open to have that conversation. But if you don't know how to have that conversation, please get help. Reach out. Psychologist therapy. There are people out there that will help you communicate better with your partner. And I really hope that this helped in a little way for you to understand some topics that you should bring up and broach with your partner, and understand yourself. Can you do it or can't you do it? So that you'll be able to make some improvements in the right direction to do it when needed in a safe environment. And again, if you need help, reach out. Okay. Nice talking to you guys. Again, sorry for the late night. Happy Halloween, and enjoy it. I will see you next time. Okay. Take care. Bye.